Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join me are my co-hosts, Joseph.
Hello.
And Jehu.
Cacao!
Here to do the long discussed and teased time travel episode.
At least the first one.
Yeah, it'll probably be multi-part because there are a lot of time travel movies.
There sure are.
Well, I think we first proposed this when we were arguing about Endgame. And we were going to do it to coincide with Tenet, but then nobody gave a fuck about Tenet when it actually came out. So I think that's why it got so delayed.
I mean, there were other things on our mind.
Yeah, this is going to be like 18 months in the making. But what makes me sad about us doing this is Ian is the one who really hates time travel movies.
Yeah, that's
correct.
True.
And so doing it without him feels like we're just gonna really miss out on that opinion. But I'm sure there's probably all time travel movies we all hate for probably similar reasons.
I mostly just want to take on. I want to rehash Avengers Endgame. Essentially, is all I really want.
Yeah, we'll get to there. I'm sure.
I'm gonna usually I'm pretty positive anyway, but I'm gonna be on purpose positive on this to try to goad Ian into rebuttal.
I like it. So I actually talked about time travel a week or two ago on this podcast because I just watched a time travel anime called Steins Gate, and I've realistically there's kind of two categories that these fall into. So the most realistic time travel movies, which we'll get into, are ones that pretty much you can go forward in time, but you can't go back in time. But that's no fun. That's not really what time travel movies are all about.
That's not what anyone wants from time travel.
Exactly. And so, once you get into the actual concept of, sending yourself back in time, it tends to branch off into two lines of logic where it's either you can go back into the past and make changes that will affect your future or create a new branch of time that will, have some different future than the one that you came from. Or you can have the everything is deterministic, everything that has happened or everything that will happen has already happened and will happen that way again. And there's no actual way to change it. It's just, you're just part of the loop, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. And the one exception that I mentioned for these, which Hurt threw out as an obscure reference that I don't know, was the X-Men Days of Future Past rules, where you kind of avoid the running into your past self paradox by sending your consciousness back in time, so you can still affect changes, but you don't actually have to deal with another you roaming around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily count this as its own. I mean, I will for the sake of this podcast, but this one's kind of like the first one to me, but just kind of like a cheat code almost. To me, it's very much like your actions still have consequences and stuff like that, just like a normal time travel story would. But it's just a little bit of a cheat code because you don't have to worry about the two versions of you in the past type thing.
Right.
I was thinking about it building up to this, and these are the categories I think they are. I think you put two into one category that are two different categories.
Okay.
I think there's you can travel back in time and change the past, affecting the future. Like, an example would be Back to the Future. You go back, you do something, the present's different. There's the second category would be whatever happened. So, that phrase comes from Lost, but I think the best example of it is probably the first two Terminator movies. In those, they're pretty ironclad of everything that's doing is just making the things happen in the future. It's a loop. Nothing you can do to change anything. Third one, I think, is what the Marvel time travel is going to be once we get more into its effects, which is what you talked about, the branching. When you go back and change the past, there's then becomes a branch of one where you change the future and one where you didn't.
Well, so go ahead, keep going.
Fourth category, I'm going to go with just calling it hot garbage, which is any of the other Terminator movies. Also a good example of this type of thinking, where just anything goes. Sometimes it's predetermined. Sometimes you change it. Is anytime Futurama did time travel, but of course they were making fun of it on purpose, so it was okay.
I mean,
and my
the important thing to note as we go through these is that almost no movie is consistent within its own logic. They set up the rules and then they absolutely break them by the end.
Mm-hmm. And my fifth category is whatever the fuck Tenet was.
I haven't seen Tenet, so I can't speak to that one.
So those are the categories I've got.
But to your notes about which one Back to the Future falls into, Back to the Future changes its own rules from 1 to 2 to 3.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
So Back to the Future 1 is your very first category. You go back, you change the past that changes your future, the one that you came from. Correct?
Right. Correct.
But then 2, when Biff gets the sports almanac, is the branching. Correct?
Right. I think two I think is the best. 1 is the best movie. 2 is the best time travel movie.
But then 3, I don't think they even go back to the branching thing again. I think they just go back to the Future 1 rules.
They
Am I wrong?
That's absolutely true. I had forgotten about how wacky 2 gets when I was making those rules, but that is correct. No, number 2 does have completely different rules than the other 2.
I also can't remember. So a lot of these, as we talked about the cheat code of sending your own consciousness back, but I can't remember what the justification most of the time is for why you can't go and talk to your past self. Is there a...
Say that again? I don't know that I track that well.
This
is the hard part with time travel movies. It gets wordy and complicated.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think that happens in Back to the Future. I'm getting confused. The ones where there's 2 of the same person. You've sent yourself back in time, and there's another version, previous version of you.
In Back to the Future 2, there is 2 versions of Marty in the past, and he has to avoid other Marty.
Okay, no, I'm not crazy. Yeah, but what's the rationale for that? I can't remember because most movies do that.
I think that in Back to the Future, it was if himself interact with each other, time can implode.
So that's always the excuse.
Science.
Yeah. The space-time continuum will implode upon itself, and everything will cease to exist. But why, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're the physics major.
Yeah, right? I should totally get this. That's how an undergraduate physics degree works. But yeah, do we want to move on to Terminator? Because I feel like that's another great example of one that dramatically goes off the rails from its original premise.
Well, I mean, I feel like the first 2 are pretty consistent. I mean, you leave the end of the second one with the idea that they think they could have changed the future, but you don't know that they've changed the future. It could all just continue the same way.
I mean, it seems odd because it seems like in Terminator 2 they would have known that there would be a second Terminator coming. I don't know. I'm confused. Hang on, I'm confusing myself already. This is too early in the episode to be doing this bullshit.
Right.
I think at some point we have to accept that, for example, with Terminator or Back to the Future, you have to look at it as an individual movie because, man, they didn't know these other things were coming. It
just seems like if what's his face is it Kyle? What's his last name?
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese. Yeah, it would be like, hey, there's another guy coming.
Right. Yeah. It seems like that would have been a topic of conversation, before he fucked off and died.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm dying. One thing I should let you know: there's another Terminator coming, and he's a way bigger pain in the ass.
Yeah. But yeah. So these movies, the first 2, like you said, relatively consistent. Besides maybe some minor logic gaps there. But then it kind of turns Final Destination-y, which is it's almost its own kind of time travel logic. It's actually the anime that I just watched kind of has its own explanation for that, which I like, which is that there are major threads of time and there are smaller threads off of those major threads that have small differences. And so in order to impact major change and switch to another thread, a completely large branch of time, you have to make enough of a change in your timeline to make a big difference. So I kind of like that logic. They never explicitly say that in the Terminator films, and I don't think that was really the intended effect, but it becomes more of a Judgment Day is an inevitability regardless of how many Terminators they fucking kill or stop Skynet or whatever.
Yep. Definitely the third one, it takes that premise that They can put it off, but it's coming no matter what.
Right.
Then the next third one, because they disregard that. Well, I guess the next third one would actually be the TV series, which is probably the best follow up of all of them. I like that a lot.
Are you talking about Sarah Connor Chronicles?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good show. Off topic, but pretty good show.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a good show. I wish it would have continued further. Brian Austin Green didn't even destroy it. But then, with Genesis, it definitely just turns to just what the fuck ever, which, by the way, I think even though I liked Dark Fate better, if they try to continue again, they should just go back to continuing Genesis, because that seemed like it could have been a fun premise for more sequels.
Yeah, man, now that we're saying it, God, Terminator is so... I mean, I've always known it's complicated bullshit, but man, sitting here listening to you all talk about it, as a person who has followed it for a long time, if I were a newcomer, absolutely the fuck not am I giving that a chance.
I mean, look, if you were a newcomer, I would sit you down and say 1 and 2 and stop. Good.
Right.
I'd be interested to hear which category the Bill and Ted movies fall under for you, Hurt. I
feel like Bill and Ted is hot garbage, but just in the best possible way.
Yeah, I don't even know if Bill and Ted tries to have rules. Right. It just is fun.
Well, I mean, particularly because the first one, the time travel isn't even that much about affecting things. It's more about bringing things forward. So I don't really think they even get to time travel till the second one. And that one is a mess, but it's a fun mess.
There's a really depressing This American Life where they start talking to people about like the adult people about the old question of, flight or invisibility. Which would you rather have? And to watch their adult brains like take the wind out of either option is one of like the most dispiriting things to like see the progression of childhood, like childhood wonder to like just adult reason and depression and shit. And I feel like you're right. Bill and Ted has just kind of skirted that. It's like, this is why people want to time travel. This is the fun shit. Ignore all the other stuff.
I've listened to that same This American Life, and it made me think of my one idea for creating my own superhero, which would be a guy who can fly but is afraid of heights. So he never does anything with it unless he's just absolutely fucking forced to.
So I kind of like the idea of you can only have your powers as long as you don't think about them too hard.
Right.
Oh, that's good too.
You can fly as long as you don't try to think about why you can fly.
Right. Because if I could fly, I 100% would never do it because I would be afraid I'd be in the middle of it and it would turn off. No thanks.
But time travel movies.
Those are like the big three of like franchisey kind of ones that I had written down. Am I missing one?
No, I mean, nothing comes to mind. Certainly Terminator, Back to the Future, and I guess Bill and Ted. Like my thing about Bill and Ted is I feel like time travel is the least important part of that movie.
For sure.
Totally.
But it does happen. So I suppose it counts. I mean, there are a lot of individual movies that I think time travel plays a really big part. They're known for their time travel. Butterfly Effect, Looper. But yeah.
Let's fucking sink down into Looper for just 1 second.
I've only watched Looper once, and my immediate reaction was, I really liked that. I'm never going to watch it again so I can poke any holes in it.
I think that's probably wise. The thing that drives me crazy about this movie is it claims to be of your first category there.
Right.
Go back, change your future. But there are a spectacular amount of inconsistencies in it. The thing that drives me fucking crazy about it is that whoever wrote that movie, which I think was Rian Johnson, I think he writes and directs most of his movies, instead of like looking at those and like trying to like kind of pick a track, it just has a throwaway line by Jeff Daniels, like, if you think about time travel too much, it turns your brain to mush. Fuck you, Rian Johnson. Put some goddamn effort in. That would be like me writing a novel, like, and starting like 2 chapters, then be like, and then some stuff happened, and then writing the ending. Fuck you.
I mean, my main argument against your argument, though, is again a movie you guys haven't seen, which is Tenet, because he thought way too much about it and made something that was just, I mean, man, I haven't talked about it at all since seeing it on here, but it's a great James Bond film. The James Bond structure of that movie is fucking solid and really watchable and great performances. But people talk about his movies being confusing, but I always find them to be very cause and effect. And once you get to the twist, everything makes sense. I think this one was designed to be like that, but I didn't get it on the first try. Maybe someone could explain it to me, but it puts too much thought in the parts of time travel that aren't fun. Which is just
fair enough. He's exactly that This American Life subject.
Yeah, no, totally, 100%.
But on that note, I actually had a whole category of probably like the closest to like accurate time travel, if there is such a thing. And I put down Interstellar in this one because a lot of the time travel in Interstellar is like, actual time travel, the people experiencing time at different rates. And then they kind of pull the wormhole bullshit at the end for going the backwards in time stuff. But, again, scientifically, relatively accurate. Is it more fun because it's more scientifically accurate? I don't think so. I don't hate that movie, but I think that the scientific exposition is what drags it down the most.
I think that movie is a good movie. It just didn't live up to the movie that everyone had decided that movie was going to be before they saw it.
Yeah, that's fair. Another one that I think is might surprise you, but I'm putting in the truest category for the same reason: Planet of the Apes.
Right on. Yeah. Okay,
I can agree with that. Yep.
They get stuck in a spaceship, experience dramatic time dilation, and come back unknowingly onto the same planet long time later. But no rules have been broken. Very, very realistic time travel.
The opposite of that would be the Tim Burton remake.
I imagine so. I've never watched it.
Oh man, I recommend everybody bags on that movie. And
doesn't it have Marky Mark in it?
It has Marky Mark in it, and you really got to see it because of the twist at the end. Because the twist at the end is my favorite episode of Treehouse of Horror.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it's ever on cable, just watch it.
And then it's not really a time travel movie, but I just wanted to mention it. Idiocracy. It could happen.
That's true. That definitely. I think that fits more into how I describe The Running Man, which is highly accurate speculative fiction.
Fair enough.
I would say those Planet of the Apes and Idiocracy kind of have the same time travel mechanics. I would put that in its own category. But falling asleep.
What about falling asleep?
That's the category. That's what they did. They fell asleep.
Oh.
I was so fucking
confused.
I thought that was just some new aggressive take you had decided to make about critiquing our podcast while we were making it.
I was really confused about what's happening.
Yeah. I was like, all right, he's brought out the steel chair. He's turning heel.
Oversimplified cryogenics and all that bullshit. They slept for a long time. That's what happened.
Buck Rogers is the same premise.
One of the other categories I wanted to bring up is ones that are actually pretty consistent to their own rules. And on a side note, and we might get into more of these depending on how much time we want to spend on this, there's a whole subgenre of romantic time travel movies.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of weird, but hey, it's a thing. But one that I think does it weirdly the most consistently is The Time Traveler's Wife with Rachel McAdams, one of the time travel romance movies with Rachel McAdams. It's a deterministic world. Everything has always happened the way that it happens. It's just Eric Bana experiences it real differently than everybody else.
Right.
But they stick to their guns, which I appreciate.
Yeah, realizing that movie wasn't for me, I liked that movie fine.
It's not bad. Mm-hmm. Then the other one is oh, go. What were we gonna say?
No, you go ahead because I think I'm almost sure you're going to talk about what I was about to talk about.
I don't think I am, so
go for it.
I'll do mine. Another one is a movie I just watched recently, which is kind of an Ethan Hawke indie movie called Predestination.
Right.
Which again, it's kind of a deterministic-y world, but it's confusing. It's definitely got it's got issues outside of the time travel that are kind of logical quandaries, things that keep you scratching your head, but within the time travel rules, very consistent. Also, really good movie. I recommend it.
What was the Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock one with the time traveling mailbox?
It's the Lake House.
The Lake House. Here's everything I have to say about the quality of the Lake House. In like 2008, there was some dude who wanted, this is back during Living the Life. There was some dude who wanted to propose to his girlfriend after watching the Lake House. So he rented out an entire theater, sat in there with her while we played it through the projector from a DVD, not even a fucking Blu-ray, a DVD. And then after it was over, he got up and proposed to his girlfriend. He never picked up his DVD. The Lake House DVD was left in the thing. When I left that business in like 2018, 2017, whatever, that Lake House DVD was still sitting in the projection booth. No one had stolen it in like 10 years.
And that's your review of the Lake House.
That is my review of the Lake House.
Beautiful. I do want to wrap up with Avengers Endgame in just a second. But some just, I think, required notable entries here. Donnie Darko, which I think, I'm curious. Do you guys feel like you all loved this movie when you watched it the first time? Maybe not loved.
I hated this movie. I've only watched it once, had a terrible time. Cannot do it again.
I watched it after, like, way late, after everybody had decided they loved it, and then everybody decided that they hated it, and it went full circle, and I watched it. I put it in the category of just a movie. It was stylistically cool to look at, but mostly it was just a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal's angstiness.
Yeah.
And a man in a bunny costume. Though, why are you wearing that man suit is a great line. There's a... I'll stand by this movie. It's definitely in the change your own future category, but everything about the mechanics are super opaque. So, if you're going in to figure out how the time travel works, you're watching the wrong movie. If you're going in to figure out how anything works, you're watching the wrong movie.
Right.
And then the other one I feel is required to mention is 12 Monkeys, which is, not super dissimilar from Terminator in premise. It's a dystopian future trying to go back and fix the past at a pivotal moment. I can't remember how this movie ends. Do they solve anything? Do they fix it?
I, in fact, have never watched this movie. I'm positive at some point, to sound smart, I've told somebody I did, probably a woman, but I've never watched this movie.
So it's one of the more fun, weird Brad Pitt roles. It will remind you of Fight Club Brad Pitt, which might taint you because it's just been overdone, but he's still pretty fun. And Bruce Willis, this was Bruce Willis before he gave up on acting. So, it's a pretty good time.
Without seeing it, it does seem like the exact moment that Bruce Willis stopped caring about acting and Brad Pitt started.
That's fair. I like it. Are there any other ones you guys wanted to hit up before we touch on Endgame?
I didn't really get a word in on 12 Monkeys. I just wanted to say that it's a pretty good movie. It's a cool time travel movie. I think all around it's just a good, dirty movie. It's really dirty, and it's pretty, not dirty like profane. Everyone is very unclean in it. But, Jehu, I'm surprised you haven't seen it, because it seems like you're kind of shit.
I honestly cannot explain to you why I've never watched it. I never made a decision not to watch it. Just I somehow keep not watching it.
Fair enough.
I want to watch the show because it looks pretty good too. But yeah, you should check it out. I think you'd like it. Now we can go to Endgame. I don't have any other movies, Joseph, to your other question that we haven't already talked about.
That's fine.
I feel like there should be a Stephen King time travel movie, but I can't think of one. Is there a Stephen King time travel movie?
Man, there's so many I've written down that we're not getting to. So if there is, you can look it up and save it for the next time.
Okay, fair enough.
Before we get into Endgame, actually, another superhero movie that did time travel first. Superman the movie.
That's true. That's
true. Yep. Very, again, own category. Spin the earth backwards.
Yeah, I think that's... what was your fourth or fifth category there, Hurton?
No, the fifth category was whatever 10 it is. Fourth category was hot garbage.
Hot garbage. I think that's what this one counts as.
That's probably true.
Because the way this works, there should really be two Supermen.
Yeah,
because
No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Once he stops the Lois from dying, he would have then no reason to go back in time. So there should be two Supermen.
That's very true.
this is my thesis. Carry on.
The thing is with this one is I don't know. I honestly think he could have just saved Lois and not done this. And then they could have used this ending where it was supposed to be used in Superman 2. Because it really, there's no real reason it has to happen that way, except they were like, man, we have to come up with some fantastic finish. Like, it was an ending that was written in there just because we need a cool ending, not because that was really the necessary ending to this story. So yeah, I love that movie, but I've never liked that part.
And this actually transitions well into one of the reasons that Ian hates time travel movies so much, is that particularly in like franchises like Superman, it breaks the rest of the universe because then Superman should solve all of his problems with time travel in the future.
Right.
Which leads us into Avengers Endgame, which Ian firmly believes is wrong, doesn't make sense, and breaks everything. And I'm excited to hear Hert's argument for why it doesn't.
Well, okay, the thing is, I'm not going to say it doesn't break everything. It totally breaks everything. But I think the way it breaks everything is we'll see the fallout in later movies and we'll be entertained.
So I did want to say this, Joseph, when not to interrupt you, Jay, I want to go back to it.
No, go for it.
The alternate timeline, how did you classify that in your two or your three different time travel theories?
That would fall into the second category.
Okay.
In that if you make changes, it creates a branch. I forgot there's a lot that don't do that. Carry on.
Yeah, we'll see. Like Back to the Future 2, it has repercussions and maybe could be an alternate timeline. But this movie makes it a point to say, oh, that timeline is totally separate from this new timeline we're in.
That timeline is fucked.
Yeah. Sucks to be those guys. That's why I asked, because this movie makes a point to try to explain that to you. All right, continue, Jahil.
Well, I mean, I think the thing that annoys people about this one the most is, and by people, I don't just mean Ian. I've heard other people griping the same way, is that there is an inconsistency within its logic. And I don't...
Oh, we lost you. Hang on. Come on back.
That's weird.
So that guy was just hearing a fair amount about Avengers Endgame, huh?
Right. But yeah, it was the dude I work with. I don't know why my ear decided to dial someone this week.
Your ear is very talented.
It really is. So yeah, okay. So the big thing with this is people think there is an inconsistency in the time travel of this. And I think that stems from when they travel, they of course have to travel back to get all of the Infinity Stones to bring them forward to undo the snap. If you're a person who didn't watch this movie that everyone on Earth has watched. When they do that, getting one of the stones, Thanos follows them to the future. They kill Thanos in the future after having already killed him in the middle. So I think this leads people to believe, well, if you did that, then that's an inconsistency in the time travel. That means that he was never there to do the snap in the first place. Why did they even do it? Then you get into everyone has a problem with, well, if Cap went back to the past.
I think this is the big one. I think this is the one that most people have an issue with.
How does he not change everything? How does him not being there change everything? But I think both of those things are completely consistent with the branching time travel. It's just that we've always been in the branch where Cap traveled back to the past. Does that make sense?
I think I'm following.
So it's like, everybody's thought about this, thinking about this is very linear, and it shouldn't be because it's time travel. So like, say, for example, with Thanos, when they bring Thanos forward in time and he dies, there was still a Thanos that made the snap. There was still a Thanos that Thor cut off his head. So that makes a branch in the timeline where there wasn't. So there's some other reality where Thanos never did the snap because he died 2 years earlier. But also that brings you to, there's also a reality somewhere where they never fix the snap. Anytime they're changing this, there's different things. So when Cap went back to the past, he would have had to change the past just by existing there. But I think that the only one of the Marvel movies that take place in both timelines is First Avenger. After that, they branch off, and we've never seen a movie that didn't take place in the timeline where Cap goes back to the past. And as long as he lived in secret, that all works, every bit of it, except for the weird part where his niece didn't recognize him.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But you know what? I've got uncles I couldn't pick out of a lineup.
I think the way I've kind of settled this is another category.
Yep.
Okay.
That there's just a loop there. That those 5 years or whatever, the timeline separates after it and then connects back 5 years earlier. Like, instead of like jumping 5 years, I think the answer is, it breaks off at one point and it rejoins somewhere else. I still think, all the Spider-Man movies happen in the same timeline. I think everything still happens. I think the only real question mark with how time travel works in Endgame, and I'm sure Ian will send me a million texts why I'm wrong about this, the only question mark is Captain America. I think everything else pretty much makes sense. If he can put the stones back exactly at the second they were taken, what are the repercussions?
Well, I mean, but then you also run into Loki took a stone. They never got that stone back. So there's two versions of one stone.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Because, I mean, the stone that Cap, took from the past was before that. And then he took it back to that, but it would still, in one of these branching timelines, have never been recovered. So also, that would be another timeline where, unless Thanos recovered it in a different way, he would have never done the snap.
I would say this. I think I have always just chalked that up to being answered in the Loki show.
I mean, I think a lot of everything with these shows, like I think a lot of people are looking at like, oh, they did a sloppy job of this and they're never going to address it. I think they really set it up to where they have to address it. They want to do stories about addressing how much, time got fucked up by fixing the snap.
Yeah.
And on that note, they also have kind of given themselves an out within Endgame to at least get out of time travel logic for a while, and having it not be an automatic fix everything that they could and probably should pull at any time, because in the universe where old Cap is there, all the Infinity Stones have all been destroyed.
Right.
Well, I mean, have they though? That's the other question. Are they back in existence because now Thanos, his head got cut off, or not his head cut off, but died, was snapped away, or are the stones still destroyed? I guess if you put them back in the timeline before, they still end up destroyed, but I don't know. It is confusing.
Well, shit. I wanted this to be like a full 3-person smackdown for Ian, but now we've just confused ourselves, so we may have just proven his point.
Well,
I'm still confident in my version.
Again, I think the time travel works in the movie. I think the problem with time travel in any movie is it's all is based on your understanding of whatever the writers intend it to be, and it's a complex issue that probably doesn't freaking work. I mean, like, Interstellar is probably the closest to working, and then the secret to that movie is love. Like, there's always a point where we just gotta jump the shark when it comes to time travel.
Right. There's always at some point you gotta admit, this wasn't really about time travel. It was just about the shit we could do with time.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's really what it all boils down to.
I'm not even sure this episode had a current theme throughout of it, other than us just arguing about how all of these movies don't make sense.
That's the theme of all time travel movies. That's fine. Is there anything else we wanted to get on this one, or we want to save it for later? I feel like we've spent enough time on this realistically.
I feel like I had more to say on Endgame, but that was such a poignant wrap up. I'm not going to ruin it.
All right, let's do it. Fantastic. Well, that's part one of time travel movies. there's still plenty that we haven't gotten to, so we may be coming back around to this one. Maybe when the rest of us watch Tenet. I don't know. But yeah, if there's any that we missed that you wanted us to talk about, or logical gaps that we missed, or your theory on Endgame, you can tell it to us at realfilmdays@gmail.com. In the meantime, what have we been watching this past week, guys?
Are we starting with Mando again?
Oh, yeah, Mando.
Yeah, let's do
episode 2.
The Passenger.
No Boba Fett.
Nope. The Mandalorian takes a frog lady and her eggs, traveling to a planet to meet her mate, and things go horribly awry, and they're attacked by spider monsters. I like this episode. I thought it was a pretty good filler episode. And
it was definitely filler, but it was fun filler.
I don't understand what constitutes a filler. Is the filler just mean that it's not pushing a larger arc forward?
I would say that. I mean, I think this episode does drive Mando forward and Baby Yoda forward. I think there are lessons to be learned here, but I don't think it drives like the narrative forward.
Right. I'm against the term filler because I don't think that there needs to be like a season-long arc every episode. But
I think you think it comes with a negative connotation, and I don't think that's true.
I mean, definitely what people...
What other context is filler a good thing?
I mean, it's fine labeling something what it is, which is that it doesn't drive the narrative arc forward. I think that's okay. So that has a purpose. That is it gives time for the Mandalorian to learn a lesson here.
Which is
the stuff inside of a Twinkie?
I think that's filling.
I mean, same thing. Yeah, I mean, our definition of filler today is what just television used to be.
Yeah, right.
You'd go through. You'd have a character, and it'd go through a thing, and at the end of it, your character is exactly the same. And that's definitely what this is. So I mean, but there was something about this that I almost don't feel like I guess it's filler in that you could not watch this episode and still completely understand the overall series.
Agreed.
But that doesn't mean it was a bad episode. It was totally a good episode.
I think the term filler is born out of that not Diego Luna guy in that Lost episode about the jewels. That's where it gets negative. That's where the negative connotation.
Sure.
Right.
But I like this episode. I thought this episode, I said this in the text, but it's like a love letter to Dave Filoni because, one, he's an X-Wing pilot in it. Two, it uses a monster that he pulled a lot of in Star Wars Rebels.
Right.
So I think there were a few things that were just like, hey, we acknowledge what you've contributed to Star Wars in this episode.
And I feel like everything about the chase through the ice caverns with like the hundreds, thousands of the ice spiders of various sizes was really effective. Yeah, I feel like there was a way to make that where it was, kind of dumb, and there was a way to make it where it seemed really scary. I think they achieved what they wanted to get.
This is actually a pretty scary episode for this show.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely. I'm assuming we're already talking spoilers. Talking spoilers
instantly.
It's there's a point where you're like, well, they've got no fucking way out of this unless someone helps them. And then help shows up. But at that moment, it was like there was a genuine feeling that they were fucked.
Yeah, for sure. What did we think of the Baby Yoda slurping on the eggs bit?
It's funny. The internet had really divisive reactions about this. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were down on Baby Yoda, and I'm curious as a father, Christian, how this resonated with you, because I feel like it's just part of the territory.
Yeah, no, it didn't bug me at all. The slurping sound was kind of gross, but look, I mean, two parts.
I love that effect.
I'm
assuming it was practical because it looked practical.
It was so good. I think there are two parts to this. Number one, because I watched this with my wife, and Kate's like, man, that little kid just doesn't give a shit. And I'm like, well, to be fair, he's watching this dude just murder people all the time. He's got to be desensitized to the thought of the loss of life. He's just like, whatever, this looks yummy, I'm going to eat it. Number two, those aren't fertilized eggs. That's like eating a chicken egg.
Yep.
What's the difference?
I'm with you.
I mean, kids like to stick shit in their mouths.
Yeah.
I mean, I am not a parent, but it seems like parenting is mostly keeping kids from sticking shit in their mouths.
Dude, it's the first 3 years. That's all it is. Don't choke on that pin. Stop putting that shit in your mouth.
One of my favorite stories of my buddy Chris and his kids. He used to work at Waffle House for a long time, and his family came and ate and visited him. And so they were there with his wife and his oldest son, who I think was like 5 at the time. Came in, had a meal. Were walking on their way out, and like right before they got to the door, his oldest son just reached over and grabbed the waffle off a plate of a random person and just stuck it in his mouth. and both Chris and his wife were just like horrified. Like, I don't even know. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah. That's great.
That's great. But yeah, I mean, Disney usually tries to steer clear of anything controversial, but it seemed like somebody had to know, man, this is going to give birth to 1,000 think pieces. And I feel like it may have been even a little trolly to this, but I don't really see a problem with it. He was sticking stuff in his mouth, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there is more to it than we give it credit for, but it did not bug me at all. Yeah. I liked this episode. I thought it was pretty good. Ian said I think it was like one of his favorite episodes ever, which is shocking because Ian typically hates filler episodes.
But he also loves new things.
That's true. He does. Give him a few rewatches, and he may not like this episode as much.
That's true. Yeah.
But so far, I think the season has started off, just like last season. The first
really
couple
strong.
Of episodes are real strong. Yeah.
So I'm excited. What else you got, Christian?
Oh yeah, that's right. I typically go here.
You do.
Well, Joseph, I don't know did you watch Young Justice?
I did watch all of Young Justice.
Okay. So before we get to that, since we'll both talk about it, I started Titans because I finished Young Justice, and I was like, well, might as well. And I'm only 3 episodes in. I'm sure I'll finish it by next week. I'll say this. They weren't just advertising it as a dark take of these characters. It is a dark take of these characters, and I don't know how I feel about it. So we'll see. I'll keep going. The only other thing I watched was Peter Jackson's World War I documentary, They Shall Not Grow Old, which is really, really well made. But it is not like just dinner time television. Like, it's not something you want to sit down and watch with your kids. I don't know if I just downplayed World War I in my head or what, but it seemed pretty freaking awful after watching this documentary. Those were some, and it's weird because it's completely narrated by people who were there. And so they're just like these old men British voices that you would imagine talking about, like, stereotypical tea, crumpets, soccer, kind of bullshit. And they're all talking about how they'll all just be sitting on a post. There'll be like 5 of them lined up taking a shit. And then all of a sudden, like a ballista will explode in the air and hot metal will be spraying down upon them. And they got a turd coming out of their butt. And you're like, man, this is literally my worst nightmare. And it sounds terrible, but it sounds really sweet coming out of their old British men mouth.
Everything sounds better that way.
Like Richard Attenborough narrating the death of millions of people being eaten by mice. It's very strange, but it's a strange combination because it just feels like an otherworldly thing. It did make me think about how World War I is only 50 years after the Civil War. So if you look at like the horrible conditions that things like, like the soldiers in the Civil War were in, like, there's still a lot of similarities, and the jump between World War I and World War II technology-wise is really astronomical. And so it is very interesting, but again, not for the faint of heart. It's pretty depressing, pretty sad, but really well made.
That seems to play into my theory that the further you go back with wars, the bigger enemy poop becomes.
Yeah.
And so when you get far enough back, that mainly poop is what the war is, the most dangerous thing in the war. But go ahead, sorry.
They definitely, it's something they cover very early on, is how they took poops. And then I watched Young Justice. I watched all of Young Justice. I finished it.
Excellent.
I like the second half more than I like the first half. But man, this plot is really complicated and kind of
Well,
convoluted.
it's funny because one of the things I praised it for whenever the last season came out, like a million years ago, whenever I watched it, is that I feel like it is the most accurate like comic portrayal, in the sense like the universe is just full of all the weird, complicated comic book bullshit. But it's completely unapologetic about it. In fact, it like flaunts it, like the clone shit, the Bat family, like all the silliness and ridiculous things. It like leans into it, and I liked that about it. But now the third season has become my problem with comic books in general, which is that everything is just too fucking convoluted and complicated at this point.
Yeah.
And they've like you mentioned in the past episode, they've kind of been following like the new generations each time they did the time jump. That's kind of the central focus. And at this point, there's just too many characters that they feel obligated to spend time with to really spend time with any of them.
Right.
Yeah, that's I made that complaint last week, and then I kept watching. And I was like, oh, these characters from like season 2 do play a bigger role in the second half of the series. However, then the complaint to me became, well, why do we have the new people at all? Like, let's just not include all that, because now you're balancing 20 characters versus 10 characters.
Those are like main characters, and they're still like, literally everyone else in the DC universe, including like spouses and parents.
Yeah, it was. It's not as good. It's the worst of the 3 seasons.
It is the worst of the 3 seasons. I mean, it's still good. Like, it's still very watchable.
Agreed. It's still better than a lot of cartoon superhero television, but it's just not nearly the product that the first 2 seasons were. I was really anticipating Wally to come back, though.
He's still coming back.
Yeah, I mean, they teased it a little bit, but I really thought that was going to happen at the end of that season. But
yeah, it's not
spoilers. But I don't know if that's that's a spoiler.
It was not as climactic as I think I wanted it to be in the end.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I had one point I wanted to talk about this, and we hadn't talked about. Why is Kyrie Payton play every single black person?
I know it's kind of fucked up because. Like, I'm not saying Kyrie Payton isn't a capable voice actor, but like 1/3 of the black guys he plays on that show are just cyborg.
Right. There's even a point where another character goes booyah.
I know. It's not
cyborg.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Surely there are more black actors. I mean, look, there's a lot of characters in this show. They probably have to repeat, but.
Well, I just in general hate when they, decide on any show, hey, 2 or 3 guys can just do all the voice acting. That's exactly what turned me off on the Venture Brothers, because it just got to the point the cast kept growing, but it was just, you could tell it was just the same 2 guys talking to each other.
Fair enough.
I think they reminded me a lot of in Rebels. Liam O'Brien plays a lot of the background Imperial officers.
And
there's a moment when an Imperial officer is interrogating a farmer from Lothal, and Liam also plays the farmer. So he's just interrogating himself. And there were like 5 moments of that where it's like Black Lightning is talking to Aquaman, and Kyrie Payton's both of them. It just feels pretty shitty. Like, there's got to be more black actors out there we can get on this show.
I mean, that's literally every episode of Family Guy, but fair enough.
Okay.
I mean, God forbid I ever defend the Family Guy, but they did make a pretty good joke out of that once, where Lois's dad meets the doctor and they realize they have the exact same voice, and basically they just think, well, in the beginning, we never thought there would be a reason for these 2 characters being in the same room. Like, that's just dialogue in there. I thought that was pretty solid. But
anyway, what have you been watching this week?
You know what? I decided I'm going to cede my time for what I've been watching, because there was a time travel thing I forgot to ask. And it's stupid because you set me up for it, Joseph. But I'll go ahead and I'm going to ask you guys this now.
Okay.
If you had the ability to time travel to one place in time, that's the only place you could do, what would you do and why?
Wait, hang on. Do you get to come back?
You either that's optional. You can come back or not.
Oh shit.
Back.
Okay. Fuck. Wait, I don't really want to go back. I guess.
Is this an open question to anyone?
Yeah. I certainly don't want to go back anywhere and stay. because
Right.
there's nowhere I'm going to be more comfortable than right here, realistically.
No, that's true. As much as we complain about right now, like there's this shit's way better than it was 200 years ago.
Right.
I probably would. I really would like to go back to when like My Chemical Romance was popular again, and maybe just relive the late '80s. I feel like that was a good time. I enjoyed it. Lost was on television.
I know that's kind of. I'm tempted by the same things. I was like, I just want to go back to the things that I remember fondly and appreciate them more.
Yep, 100%. I want to do that.
I'm so happy that we all three picked the same concept. Not any betterment of man, not any experiencing an important moment of history. Mine is a little different because I would want to experience something I wasn't old enough to appreciate, but I wouldn't want to go specifically to Minneapolis in the late 70s, early 80s. I could, all the classic wrestlers wrestled in that area during that time. Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Hulk Hogan, Jesse the Body Ventura, they all went through there. But also, I could see the Replacements. I could see Husker Du. I could see Prince playing in clubs. So that would be my pick.
Fair enough.
That's a good one.
None of us wanted to kill Hitler, and I think that's okay.
Dude, you kill Hitler, somebody worse. I don't know. I just
feel like I would fuck up killing Hitler.
Yeah.
Like someone with better life skills than me can take up the killing Hitler cause. I'll just go back and watch some wrestling.
That seems fair. Something that you're good at.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Fair enough. This week, second to last official Ghibli film. We might watch one more that's co-produced. But second to last Ghibli film, Ocean Waves, the only movie that's not directed by one of the Miyazakis or his direct proteges. These were a bunch of young studio artists who got together and pitched a movie and were allowed to make it. And subsequently, that has not happened in this studio again. It's not bad. It's essentially just a movie about kind of like late high school, early college relationships. Not necessarily like romantic relationships, but just kind of, I don't know, how weird and random it is to just like be popping in and out of people's lives when you don't really have like a really solid group of your people yet. And I think it captures that pretty well. It's like, it wants you so hard to be nostalgic about it. Like the music, the lighting, everything about it is just like trying to beat nostalgia into you. It's fine. It's better than Transformers. I enjoyed it. There's plenty of worse ones in the catalog. Just probably not like the most fun or unique of the selection. I'm catching up on Fargo. I watched all of season 3, which was good. I really enjoyed it. They're not as good as 1 and 2,
right?
But still pretty good. However, I started season 4, and I'm not digging season 4 so far. Which is a bummer because, again, on paper, we've talked about this. On paper, this should be all of our shit dramatically. Right. But yeah, like I don't like Chris Rock's character very much. I don't know if Chris Rock, 1, can sell it that much, and 2, like he doesn't really seem to be that much of a capable leader.
Right. Definitely Dr. Senator seems more like he should be in
for
charge.
Sure, yeah. Which I mean, I know why they do that, but they also should establish why Chris Rock is actually in charge.
Right.
But I just finished episode 5, so maybe it's gonna work up to it. But so far, it's just been like a lot of fucking threatening people, in rooms with conversations and random anecdotes without a lot of actual action happening.
Yeah, I'm only on episode 3, and I just keep running into. I'm at the end of the day. I want to watch something, but my brain isn't ready for something this dense. So I watch Law and Order or some shit like that instead.
Yeah. However, the girl that plays the nurse in this is fucking great. Like, she's terrifying. I hate the fuck out of her, but she's really good at it.
She is so fun to dislike, totally.
Yeah. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention just before we left on, have you watched this episode of the newest episode of Critical Role, Christian?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
I still haven't finished the whole episode yet. I'm getting, we're in the Yeti battle. But holy shit, if Critical Role doesn't fucking illustrate and sell that fucking children's book that Liam just wrote, apparently.
I know, man.
They're fucking missing out. hurt because you don't watch the show. You know, it's all like it's an improvised story
Right.
over a game of D&D, and I guess just for the hell of it, for the sense of a deeper narrative, one of the characters or one of the actors playing one of the characters wrote an entire children's story that he read, like a children's book that he read on the show, and it was really good.
It's
like,
fantastic.
It's really, really good.
Man, can't you see that? The whole time I pictured that in like Miyazaki like animation style, like that felt like a Ghibli.
I mean, it's definitely inspired by The Cat Returns. There's definitely a
cat in the top hat.
Yeah. If they don't do that, they're just throwing money away. I would buy the shit out of that book.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
It was also really fun to watch the whole cast be like, did he like is this a real story? Did he make this the whole time? It's really good.
Yeah.
You know?
The only thing I wanted to say before we finish, Jehu, did you ever finish Haunting at Bly Manor?
I did, yeah, and it is. It was totally really good. Yeah, I still prefer the first season quite a bit, but it was solid.
Yeah, I think that last episode is a really beautiful moment.
The last episode reminded me a lot of the not quite as aggressively gut punchy, but a lot of the last episode of 6 Feet Under. You know, like it was just like a really long goodbye.
Yeah, I honestly, if that had been the whole story of her, like to me, that was the part they crammed into one episode. That could have been like 3 episodes of her just trying to live her life that way. That would have been really, really interesting to see. Probably would have preferred that to the black and white episode. I didn't love that one so much.
Right. Yeah. The black and white episode when we were done with that, Sarah's response was, "That's fucking it."
Yeah. It's a gravity well. Oh, okay. Of souls.
Right.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Well, anyway, I think that's it for this week. I think next week we had talked about maybe doing pitching just general biopics.
Yeah, are we going to go with that? Sure. Pitch a biopic.
I'm game for that.
So
I think category doesn't matter. Whatever genre you want to put it in, but just a biopic.
Historical figure or figures.
Okay. I'll have to do some thinking on that. So join us next week for that. If you have any suggestions for biopics, people who deserve it, or people that would just be fun, bands, historical figures, whatever, send it to us at realphonies@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at realphonies, and on Instagram at real_phonies. Please rate and subscribe and tell your friends about the podcast. Again, we will probably do a part 2 on time travel eventually, just because, it's going to come up again.
Right.
Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.